In this tutorial, I'm going to be looking at a special type of variable known as a Boolean variable. You may recall from previous tutorials I've looked at conditional statements, and conditional statements are statements that evaluate to either true or false. So for example, a conditional statement is something like, that's a comparison. So 1 equals 1 is a conditional statement, and 1 is equal to 1. And so if I were to try to output this in a very simple program, the result of that would be true, and it is. I can also have false results from my conditional statement. 1 equals 2. And so that is going to evaluate to false, true and false. A Boolean variable is a variable just like any other, except for it is designed to hold data of type true and false. So let's go ahead and create a variable called equal, and this is of type Boolean. And I'm going to actually use this instead of putting 1 equals 1 and 1 equals 2. I'm going to set my variable equal to one of those statements that I just made, 1 equals 1. So the part that I'm highlighting here, that should actually, you know what, let's go one step further. Let's just go ahead and assign it to the value true and then put equal. So if I run that, the value is true. I set the variable equal to true. Notice I don't have quotes around this. This is not the string true. This is not the word true. This is actually a special value, true or false. Now, setting it this way, there might be some situations where you would do it this way, but usually we'll set a Boolean variable to keep track of some comparison. Now, we wouldn't use a comparison like this. I'm just illustrating this, which is 1 is in fact equal to 1, which means what I've highlighted here in the brackets is actually the same as the word or the Boolean value true, so equal is true. Now, more likely is to have a Boolean variable that you use to keep track of some other condition. And I'm going to create the example. I've done an example in the past about voting requirements. And so, for example, the idea that you are able to vote in a country, and in my case Canada, you need to be a citizen and you need to be 18 years or older. So I'm going to create a couple of variables, var age, which is an integer, var citizen, which is going to be a string, and that's going to actually be a yes-no answer. So yes if you are a citizen, no if you're not. And then put what is your age, get age, put are you a citizen, get citizen. And in the past, I've shown how to use using Boolean logic or logical operators. We might say if age is greater than or equal to 18 and citizen is equal to yes, then put you can vote, else put you cannot vote, and if. Now in this case I haven't used this Boolean variable, but I have created this conditional statement, which is age is greater than or equal to 18 and citizen is equal to yes. And so let's change my name of my variable here to be able to vote. So able to vote. And so how do I decide if someone is able to vote? Well, it's based on this condition. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm actually going to say able to vote is assigned to, and sometimes you might want to put, you don't need to, but sometimes it's nice to put brackets around there just to help keep it clear. So the result, once I've asked for age and once I've asked for the citizen, whether or not the person is a citizen, then I combine these two things. Is the age greater than or equal to 18? And is the citizenship equal to yes? Then able to vote is going to be set to true or false. And then I'm going to instead of having this in my if statement, I now have a much more, it's much easier to just read this. If able to vote, then we put you can vote. Else put you cannot vote. By using a Boolean variable, I've made my program a little bit longer, but I've also made it clearer. Because I've named this Boolean variable very clearly, the variable able to vote, if it's true, that means the person is able to vote. If it's false, they're not. I've got an assignment statement here, so I can basically define in one line, I can say, this is what it takes to be able to vote. Your age must be greater than or equal to 18, and you have to have answered yes to my question about being a citizen. And then, if the person is able to vote, then this is the code I'm going to execute. Obviously, in a more meaningful program, the code that's in this if-then-else statement is going to be probably longer and more sophisticated. But by using a well-named Boolean variable, I've really very clearly defined what the conditions are under which I'm going to go into this true side of the if statement or the false side of the if statement. And I did that using a Boolean variable and using an assignment operator to take a comparison statement and combine that with the Boolean variable itself. So these can be very useful. They can be useful with conditional statements, selection statements like this, if, else, and if. They can be useful with loops, all sorts of areas. Basically anywhere that you would use a conditional statement. If the conditional statement starts to get a little bit more complicated, you might want to consider using a Boolean variable.